All right, here we go. So on your next assignment, you'll have a couple more of these just to practice with a little bit more. But we'll get into problems where you just have to find the sine, cosine, tangent, secant, cosecant of just numbers somewhere on the x and y axis. So cosine of 180 degrees. So remember, 180 degrees is halfway around the circle. So if you go cosine of 180 degrees, you're going cosine over here. Well, where is that point? Well, what we like to do is use the points when we're on the axis of like 1 or -1, 0. Here, if we use this point, it would be 1, 0. This point up here would be 0, 1. And this point down here would be 0, -1. So if we're talking about cosine, we're going in the x direction, -1, and the y direction, 0. So then, what's -1 squared plus 0 squared? 1. So it's really -1 over 1, which is -1. Okay? That's really -1. So at these points, it's just over 1. So you can just use what number that you see. Cosine is x, sine is y. It works out to be. Okay? The sine of -pi/6. Okay. -pi/6 is the sine of, so if we go -pi/6, if we want to turn this into degrees that you're probably more used to, you multiply by 180 over pi. So you get -180 over 6, which is -30 degrees. So on the axis, remember, positives this way, negatives this way. So a -30-degree angle is right here. Okay, -30 degrees. Now, what we want is our hypotenuse to be 1. We want our hypotenuse to be 1. So, if you think back to geometry, we had these 30, 60, 90 triangles, didn't we? Where, if that's 30 degrees, this would be a 60-degree angle to make 180 degrees. Okay? So, the short side of a 30, 60, 90 is 1/2. And since we're going negative down, it's a -1/2. Okay? Because it's half, you take the hypotenuse and divide by 2. Okay? Then to find the long side, you take this number times the square root of 3. This number times the square root of 3. What's -1/2 times the square root of 3? Square root of 3 over 2. But in this case, it's going to be positive because we're going in the positive x direction. Okay. So on a 30, 60, 90 triangle, the short side is 1/2. The long leg is square root of 3 over 2, and the hypotenuse is 1. Okay, that's a 30, 60, 90. We'll also be dealing with 45, 45, 90 triangles today, where the two legs are the square root of 2, the hypotenuse, or square root of 2 over 2, and the hypotenuse is 1. Okay, so that's a 45, 45, 90. So right here, we're asked for the sine of -pi/6. Well, the sine is the opposite side over the hypotenuse. See how making the hypotenuse 1 makes it really easy? -1/2 over 1 is -1/2. The cosine of -pi. Well, -pi, if it's 2 pi all the way around the circle, how far around the circle is pi? If it's 2 pi all the way around the circle, how far is pi around? Not 360. 360 is 2 pi. 180. 180. So we're going this far back. Just a little bit ago, we had this same problem, right? Where's this point at? Negative 1, 0, which then the cosine of negative pi is negative 1. Negative 3 pi over 2. Okay. And again, most of you are going to see 3 pi over 2 and go, I want to change that. So let's change that. Multiply by 180 over pi. Pi's cancel. 2 and 180 is 90. What's 3 times 90? 270. So I'm going 270 degrees, but I'm going in the negative direction. There's negative 90. There's negative 180. There's negative 270. What point am I at? I'm at 0, 1. Okay, 0, 1. Now, I want cotangent. Cotangent is adjacent. Whoa. Adjacent over opposite. The adjacent side is the cosine side. That's going to be 0. Our opposite side is our sine side. That's going to be 1. What's 0 divided by 1? 0. So cotangent is adjacent over opposite, which adjacent goes with cosine, opposite goes with sine. Cosecant of pi over 2. Where's pi over 2? How many degrees is pi over 2? 90 degrees. 90 degrees is pi over 2. So we're at 1, or we're at 0, 1 as an ordered pair. Cosecant is hypotenuse over opposite, right? Well, our hypotenuse we said was 1. Our opposite goes with sine. So our sine goes with the y value. So that's 1. 1 divided by 1 is 1. Secant of pi over 4. So pi over 4 times 180 over pi. Pi's cancel. 180 divided by 4 is 45 degrees. So here's our 45, 45, 90 triangle, where this is 1, this is square root of 2 over 2, and this is square root of 2 over 2. And we want to find the secant of that. The secant is the reciprocal of, or secant goes with cosine, right? It's the reciprocal of cosine. So it's going to be the hypotenuse over the adjacent. I have a complex fraction here. How can I get rid of my complex fraction? Well, if I multiply by the denominator of the denominator, the 2's cancel. Whoop, the 2's cancel there. I still have a 2 on the top. And we get 2 over the square root of 2. And then multiply by square root of 2 over square root of 2. And you get 2 square root of 2 over 2. And those cancel. So you get just the square root of 2. Okay. 5 pi over 6. 5 pi over 6 times 180 over pi. Pi's cancel. And 180 over 6 is 30. So it's the sine of 150 degrees. Yeah, that's not very good. More like that. 150 degrees here is 30 degrees here. So it makes a 30, 60, 90 triangle. The short side is 1/2, 1, and square root of 3 over 2. Okay, sine is which side? Sine is which side? Opposite. Opposite over hypotenuse, 1/2 over 1 is just 1/2. Okay, are we getting all right with this? You can do some of these. All right, let's get down to this one. Okay, the sine of pi over 2 plus pi over 4. Pi over 2 plus pi over 4, get a common denominator. What over 4 is pi over 2? 2 pi over 4. So this is a sine of 3 pi over 4. And so if we multiply by 180 over pi, this is a sine of how many degrees? How many degrees is 3 pi over 4? 135 degrees. So on the graph, 135 degrees this way leaves me 45 degrees to get to 180. So this is a 45, 45, 45, 45, 90 triangle. So, remembering that on the sides of a 45, 45, 90, when the hypotenuse is 1, the sides are square root 2 over square root 2. So if we're looking for sine, it's square root 2 over 2. Once you get to 18, then life becomes easy, because you just punch them into your calculator. Sine of 53 degrees, round to 4 decimal places, is what? Zero point 3959. Can we all do that? Okay, that's easy. But what about when you get to cosecant? Ooh. Cosecant is the reciprocal of what function? Sine. So you take 1 divided by the sine of 61 point something degrees. Now this is 61 degrees, 42 minutes. 42 minutes is what as a decimal? Well, you take 42 divided by 60, and you get 0.7. So it's 61.7 degrees. So you take 1 divided by sine of 61.7 degrees. And what do you get?
Negative 1.104.
Is it negative? I don't think it's negative. 1.1357. You might be in the wrong mode. Click mode on your calculator. If you click mode on your calculator and you're in radian mode, you want to switch to degree mode on this. Okay? So make sure your calculator's in degree mode, not radian mode. Okay, we're just about done. Whoa, I don't know what I just did there. Oh, I know what I just did.
There we go.
We gotta go undo, undo. Something happened because we have a couple more problems to go over. There we go. If the sine is negative 8/9, what would the cosecant be? What do you do with sine and cosecant? They are what of each other? Reciprocals. Cosecant would be negative 9 over 8. You just flip them over. Okay. And lastly, what quadrant are you in if the sine is negative and the secant is positive? Well, the secant is a reciprocal of cosine, so the cosine is positive and the sine is negative. Well, the sine goes with the y value, and the cosine goes with the x value. So I need positive x value, negative y value. What quadrant am I in? 4. I'm in quadrant 4. I'm in quadrant 4. Yep. Okay, I will sign this out. This is a little tougher stuff. This might take you a little while to understand. I will make it dramatically easier on Thursday. You'll want to throw stuff at me on Thursday once I make it dramatically easier. But you have to learn how to go through this to learn how the easier stuff applies. Yeah. Yes. I'm rude. Yes. Yes. Okay. I'm going to have to get more tissues. All right.